a little care package in the mail, which you know I love, to the store, to the NTS, and I thought I'd give it a full review on here. And this is a pre-workout pack from Krupt Supps, K-Rupt, or Krupt, I guess, indicating corrupt. Corruption's cool, right? And this is Villan pre-workout. Looks like I've also got something called Sidekick in here, which would be their non-stim pre-workout as well. I'm actually opening this live. Okay, so that's the Villan pre-workout. It's pretty good. I gotta say, I like the packaging on this too. I'll put a little picture up of that now. And we've got a formula on here, which I will, of course, break down and review today. Looks pretty stacked. Now, they all seem to be the stimulant pre-workout Villan, but we've got 3 flavors. So there's this cool lime rush, mango bursties, and then, of course, just a good old blue raz, the first one that I showed you as well. 9 full hits of this, so I'm going to have plenty of fun testing this out. But let's have a little look at the formula. We've got citrulline, and it's at a 1 or 2 scoop dose, which is pretty clever in Australia. You kind of want to list your pre's at that 1 or 2 scoop dose so people know that they don't have to take the double scoop serving to get an effect. You know, it's quite often nice to take 1 scoop of these sorts of pre's. For the most part, that's probably what I'll take. But we've got a 3 gram L-citrulline dose at the 1 scoop, which for me would be a really nice dose of citrulline, or the more traditional, I guess, 6 gram dose at the 2 scoop mark. Pretty much the upper limit of citrulline for me. I can handle that much. Next up, we've got some beta-alanine, and it looks like, yep, the 3.2 gram dose at the 2 scoops, or a little half serve if you do the 1 scoop. Nothing wrong with that, because it gives people options. You know, if you don't want to get really tingly and you're not a big fan of beta-alanine and you're 1 scooping this pre, it's probably just the right amount for you and it won't have you itching your face off. If you're someone that does really like tingles, you probably really like a lot of caffeine too, then you can do the 2 scoop dose. Betaine, okay, at the traditional 2.5 gram dose where the studies showed it to shine, so that's cool to see. And then of course you can get half dose on that, which is good once again if your stomach's a little bit sensitive. Sometimes betaine can upset it a little bit. Also known as TMG, by the way. So if you're wondering if betaine and TMG are the same thing, they are. So it's also that wonderful homeocysteine lowering anti-aging ingredient that's good for methylation, and it has performance enhancing effects in workouts and athletic performance. Moving on, we've got caffeine anhydrous at 200 or 400 milligrams. I think that's the perfect dose for a 1 or 2 scooper like this. 200 milligrams is great for daily use, and 400 is great when you really want to turn it up a notch. I like 200 milligrams for single scooping. So I like that they chose that, and they kept it simple with just straight up caffeine anhydrous. And then if we go down the list further, we can see some English walnut at the 100 or 200 milligram dose. Okay, so that's quite a bit of English walnut. This is a euphoric ingredient. This is still legal and still available in Australia at the moment. And it does provide some of those mood increases that are somewhat reminiscent of pre's of old. So expect some really nice brightening of mood, and a dose that big, so at the 200 milligrams, that with 400 caffeine, you know, we could be looking at a little bit of a crash. I'm sure at the 1 scoop, that's not going to happen, but we'll see if there's any supporting ingredients to help with that. And it looks like there are. So first thing I can see is good old alpha GPC. Looks like it might even be the 99% alpha GPC, 150 milligrams or 300 milligrams. So that's plenty, especially if it's the 99% yield. That's all you need. You don't want too much alpha GPC, but you don't want too little. That will help prevent some crash and some acetylcholine depletion. So that'll keep you going and support some of those stims in there. And Huperzine A, this will also help with the crash and some more focus, 50 micrograms or 100 micrograms. So that's a good dose if we're talking about the 99%. Usually when we look at the micrograms, we're talking about the actual yield of Huperzine A. So that's a good dose. And then orthinine in there. Okay, cool. A nice citrulline recycler. 200 milligrams or the 400 milligrams. That's enough of a dose to get things going and keep the pump around longer. So I love seeing it in there. It's also got some athletic performance improvements in studies as well. Then we've got theanine. Okay, 50 milligrams or 100 milligrams. I think throwing 50 milligrams at 200 milligrams of caffeine or throwing 100 milligrams of theanine at 400 milligrams of caffeine, it's not going to do a lot. Smooth it off a little bit. Often it's thought to be 100 milligrams of caffeine to 200 milligrams of theanine for a nice smoothing effect. Here we've sort of got 400 milligrams of caffeine to 100 milligrams of theanine. So there's going to be minimal smoothing effect. May not have really been needed, but hey, it's good to have something to balance things out. And again, that might help. And then we're looking at some taurine, half a gram or a full gram. Great. It's a great osmolyte for hydration, for muscle pumps, and for endurance, and also explosive output in studies. And then last but not least, probably one of the more important ingredients, I think, when you've got this much caffeine, and that's the L-Tyrosine in here. 500 milligrams or 1,000 milligrams, so they haven't been stingy on the L-Tyrosine. I like to run up to at least 2 grams in a pre this strong, but Australian laws around the dose you can have per serve are pretty weird. I think it's 400 milligrams of traditional L-Tyrosine per serving per day or something like that. Isn't always enforced, and it probably depends if it's a food supplement or therapeutic good or whatnot, but it looks like they've been able to get us at least a gram in there of the full serving, which is nice and generous, and that'll help prevent some crash, add a bit more drive and dopaminergic feel to it, more push, and some more euphoric kind of mood. So this will be a very euphoric pre, a very high stim pre, and quite a good pump in there. I mean, I didn't see a lot of pump in there except for the citrulline and the orthinine, just kind of synergizing with that. But to be fair, the betaine, but I like that they didn't overdo the pump. A lot of times we're blaming caffeine for what excessive amounts of pump ingredients do. So that's cool to see. I like what they're doing. Very effective formula here. Someone knows what they're doing that put this together, that's for sure. Looking forward to trying it and reporting back. But there's just a quick product breakdown of Villan from Krupt Supps. Cool Aussie brand that you'll see in a lot of retail chains right now. The NTS hasn't stocked it as yet, so we might test this out and see if we need to get it in. But irrespectively, there's a little breakdown. And based on just the ingredient panel, I would suggest that this is worth your money. From what I've seen, it's around the $79.95 mark, and that's certainly worth it for what you're getting in there. So this is a big boy pre. This is a real pre. If you've managed to get your hands on it and give it a try, let me know in the comments below. How was it? Is this a great pre? Or is it just the kind of thing you want to take once or twice a week because it's an absolute ball terror? I guess we'll find out.